What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Apex the Podcast. The boys are here. We are ready to go, and we got Rostermania up the ass. There's so much Rostermania stuff here, and we've got a long list of free agents. We also have a lot of storylines we got to talk about with NRG leaving Apex, but we will get to all of that here in just one moment. First, we got to check in with the boys, and anything happen, Enoch, this week, or... No,
I was pretty casual, pretty
just
regular week, standard operating procedure.
That's what I thought.
No,
we got to talk about the tweet.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the tweet, and here So basically, do you wanna read it, Wyatt, or do you want me?
Yeah, I'll read the tweet. For anybody who doesn't know, I don't know how you wouldn't, but Enoch put out a tweet, and it kind of set the entire Apex community on fire. Kind of came out of nowhere, to be honest. I did
not expect this sort of reaction.
I didn't either.
I did not at all. I did not think that I was going to get everybody and their brother going to be commenting on my stuff. But anyway, it's awesome. It's actually so cool because, like, even though there's like a ton of negative, like there's like an abundance of negative attention on it. Attention's attention, and it's just all. Anytime somebody's approaching it from a negative perspective, it still boosts what I'm doing and what I believe. And like, yes, not everybody's going to agree with me. Not everybody is going to even understand what I was even saying, because there's a whole lot of people that are just taking things that just wasn't even what I said and then making a whole deal about it. But yeah, without further ado.
Yeah, it definitely turned into a lot of other things. I would like to say 2.4 million views, which is crazy.
Which is the funny, because and everybody's talking about like how I'm farming for the Twitter ad rev, which I'd been not as active tweeting over the past few months, and I wasn't at like the amount that I needed to, but you need to have 5 million over the course of 3 months. There just ain't no way I'm not grabbing that. I'm in the next 3 months. I got half my impressions done in 2 days. Yeah, I got half my impressions done with one tweet in 2 days. I got 2.5 months to figure out the rest 2.5, but it shouldn't be too hard.
Yeah. It was wild. This is the tweet for anybody wondering. In my opinion, having a backup plan is a bad idea. Might as well be planning for failure. Give it all you have for as long as you can manage, and if it doesn't work out, it is a problem that can be solved in the moment. I don't give failure any of my attention or energy. So that was the tweet, and it just went crazy. Now, do you want to clarify any parts of it?
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to like? Yeah.
So I think people's perception of that was saying that if you wanted to be a full-time content creator, regardless of where you're at, that you should just shirk off all the responsibilities that you have as a person and just full send content, which is just not what I was saying at all. Like, if you are somebody and you're in a position where you have like a full-time job that you have so that you can provide for yourself and those that you're responsible for, and you want to become a full-time content creator, I wouldn't consider that as a plan B, or even a backup. That's just what you're doing to sustain yourself so you can pursue your dream with everything that you got. Because if you're sleeping for 8, then you're working for 8, that's 16 out of your 24. You got 8 hours left. 6 of those, if you're trying to become a full-time content creator, in my opinion, should be going towards that and being sole focused. And the entire time which you're approaching it with the knowing and the confidence that you're going to be successful, and then operating from that place as you're going through this journey. So then you eventually get to a place where the content stuff is generating enough to where you can no longer work the job. And then it's at that point where you're like, okay, full send, burn the boats, get into it. But I was never saying that you just completely shirk off all of your responsibilities, and just, I don't think people really understood that. And I think that's where a large amount of the negativity was coming from. But it is what it is. Everybody is entitled to their own perception, and other people's perceptions is just not my problem. And so any way I would have worded it, there are going to be some people that would have taken it the wrong way. It's just absolutely inevitable. And it is just simply just not my responsibility to be concerned about going out and straightening everybody out on what I said. And so there's a ton of people out there that are like taking different things and then some like Twitter likes and then building up all of these perceptions of me as a person and my character based off of just incredibly minute information and then making whole judgments about me, which obviously I don't agree with the judgments that they're making about me. And I think, and I'm confident that anybody who knows me as a person would say that all of these things that are being said about me are just simply untrue. And that's fine. Like, they're entitled to have their perception and their view of me. I don't have to care about it. And so I'm gonna let them do them. I'm gonna do me. And it just doesn't matter. Because I just simply, I don't need to concern myself with the thoughts of other people, especially ones who are just random people online who I will literally never interact with or have any. It doesn't make sense to ever put any amount of weight and value in the opinions of people who just are irrelevant in your life.
Yeah, it did seem
and
like
that's something that that this experience has showed me how much that's true within myself compared to like when I was growing up. Like if something had happened, like if this is something like this where I was just getting all this negative attention that happened when I was like a teenager or something, oh, I would have been going through it. But now after like going through all I've gone through and just getting to the place where I'm at today with my mental and my mindset, like the past 2 days have been awesome. Like it has been so exciting. Like everything is just booming. And some people would look at this and be like, oh, this is a horrible thing. Like, how is he doing? And like, I had a decent amount of people like sending me messages to like check on me. And I was like, guys, like I'm chilling. Like the impressions are, we are absolutely doing numbers and everybody's entitled to their perception. I just don't need to care about them. And so that's really like the energy that I'm trying to approach this from. And yeah, it's been a good week.
Yeah, it did feel like it felt like a classic Twitter pile-on, which is something that I just despise. And I've talked about this in the past where like if you put a video and the top liked comment is positive, you will scroll down and most of them will be positive. If you put up a top liked comment that is negative, most of the comment section will be negative. And people could say maybe that's just because it was a bad take, or maybe that was just because it was this or it was that, which I think is halfway true. But I would also say that it seems like there's just a pile-on effect on this app where if people see somebody just taking an absolute beating, it's easy to just kind of hop on. And what I saw at first was like there were people who were giving actual good opinions and takes to your take, which were like constructive and being like, hey, I don't fully agree. This is why. I think Snipe Downs was one that stood out to me where it was like, this makes sense. Like that's okay. Yeah, it's just like that. And then it turned into people changing it completely and then finding it and using it as a way to talk about themselves. And some of the people who have been on the show before were talking about like how that's just a bad thing, but those same people had dropped out of college to play this game and got where they wanted to get professionally. That's the part that didn't make any sense to me. Like I get it. I get that maybe they were still saying, yeah, it's still very dangerous. Like it could be very tough to do if you didn't have anything at all. But I don't know. It just felt a little hypocritical and it felt a little weird. I didn't like the pile-on. It was crazy though. It was like I took out my phone. I saw the tweet right when you tweeted it. I had just pulled up to like a delivery spot and at work, and I pulled it out, and I was like, "Oh, okay, like 10 likes, interesting, cool." Put my phone away. 2 hours later, I pulled it out, and everything had fallen apart. The entire app was running amok. People were just takes left and right. You were just seeing everything.
No, I was by far the most talked about person in Apex Twitter for at least a day.
Yeah.
For one day, and it was almost entirely negative.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Everybody's entitled to it.
And that's what I was gonna say. Oh, go Wyatt.
No, go ahead, Finn. I already said my piece.
No, well, my thing is like me and it was more so I was more so upset with the people that were attacking your character because it's like these people are making a lot of great crazy assumptions about Enoch that if they got to know him, they would know that that's just like simply not true, as he would say. But it's like just stuff that I was like, man, they're taking personal shots at him, but they're doing it because like they don't actually really know him though. Like and so I don't know. That was my more like concerning thing, and what Wyatt kind of said is kind of how I feel. Where I guess I'm more so taking a step further of it's okay to have not the same opinion as somebody.
Dude, apparently it's not. It's actually wild.
I don't like me and E and Wyatt. We all have like disagreements all the time, but that doesn't mean that I hate them or like we'll never listen to them or it's gonna affect my friendship like with them. You know, like I don't.
I still have absolutely nothing but love for Finn, despite the fact that he is a victim to big plastic.
Exactly.
Big T-Bell.
Exactly. Yeah. But
I mean, it's just a different opinion on big plastic, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
So, but seriously, I do think that it kind of goes with the pylon thing, but also like, hey, it's okay to have different opinions. That doesn't mean that you have to like hate the person that they are if they have a different opinion than you. So I think that was more so my thing. Like, I think that in my opinion, having a backup plan is a bad idea is something that I would disagree with. But once again, I'm entitled to that opinion to say that
100%.
I disagree, and that's okay. But like, I disagree in the regard that like I have a backup plan, but it doesn't mean that I'm like setting myself up for failure for the job that I'm in right now. I just have different options if things don't go the way that I'm wanting them to go. And that's how I view things. And that's my opinion. So it's like, I just think people saw that and just felt like attacked. I don't know. By Enoch. And I was like, I don't think he's trying to attack. I think he's just stating his own opinion and allowing people to do whatever the heck they want with that.
Yeah, you would have thought by the way people reacted that he was going after somebody else, like in a reply saying, your backup plan is stupid. But that wasn't at all what happened. It was literally just a man saying his opinion to nobody, just into the void, just threw it into the void. And everybody took it personally. Like it was like his fault or it was like something that he said to them that was destroying their backup plan, which wasn't even close to anything. And I also think because the way you described it, Finn, E, earlier, I feel like you just have a different definition of the word backup plan than everybody else. I look at backup plan and I think having a job. You know, that's what I think when you say backup plan. But it sounded like from what you described, yours was more of like an entire different career path was the backup plan. Am I kind of right on that? Yeah, it's more
so. And like I was talking with Watson about it, and he was, I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase it. And so, yeah, when it comes to the whole backup plan, it's about having this predisposed like thing that you're also like working on. And so like when I was talking with Watson about it, the way that he was describing it was to be like, oh well, I'm working. I want to be a full-time streamer, but then I'm also going to be like I'm going to be a dentist as like a backup plan, and I'm going to go to school and then work and then do that and then try to be a full-time streamer. Like if you're like when it comes to like that, it's just too many things to really make full, like you're not going to be able to give full-time streaming everything that you're going to need to if you're doing work and school and that. I mean, unless you're just built different, which by all means go do your thing. But
and people have done it
around like doing what you need to do to take care of yourself, and then entirely focusing on the idea that you're going to be pursuing whatever it is that you're pursuing with the utmost confidence, and that you know you're going to be successful in it. And so that's like the mindset of not having a backup plan, is not even thinking about the possibility of failure. That's more so of like where I'm coming from, is that when you're thinking about this idea of like, oh, and it doesn't have to be Apex. It doesn't have to be content creation. It doesn't have to be any of this. It can literally be anything that you want. I think that you should approach everything with the idea that you know you're going to succeed, and then approach that journey as you're going about the process of going through the journey of the path to succeeding with the energy that you know you're going to be there. And then, because if you do that, then you're going to do the things that you're going to need to in order to make that happen. Where if you are going at it from a position of doubt of like, oh, if I fail, I'm going to be able to, I'm just going to do this. Or and just allowing any amount of their time to be consumed with the idea of thinking about what if I don't make it. Because if you're going to be going after it, why would you not spend all of that time just with the certainty that you're going to make it? And if you do that for long enough, you're going to make it. But everybody talks about like, oh, you can't say, like, that's terrible advice to give to people because the majority of people out there, like to get into like the top 1%, there's 99% of people who aren't going to make it. But that's not because 99% of people don't have the ability to make it. It's because 99% of people aren't going to be willing to do the things that is required in order to do it. And so I was just trying to help people approach the situation of like, you don't need to have a backup plan if you know you're going to succeed. And so then if it ever comes to the point where, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, then that's great. Now figure out what that next thing is and then approach it with that same energy. And so it definitely got a little lost and a little misconstrued, and definitely, and it's just, the way that I view the world and just my mindset towards things is so different than the just average person, at least in my opinion, that it was very easy for what I was intending by the tweet versus what other people received from it didn't align. But even with that being the case, it's not my problem. I'm not too concerned, and it's all going to be okay.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a crazy day. It was a wild day. And I don't even know if I fully agree or fully disagree with anything in the take. It's more just like the entire pile on thing that I saw. Like, there were people who were able to state their opinion and leave it at that, and that was cool. A lot of people took it way too far, and I think that's my only gripe. I think probably me and Finn's only gripe would be like, because we don't like Finn, you already said you didn't fully agree with it either. Our opinion doesn't really matter. It's more just, we still like Enoch. We still consider him a friend. We just don't agree with him on this one thing. But people just we leave it there, whereas other people online were taking it to an entire different stratosphere of like just bullshit and just taking it to a whole nother level. It was a tweet about pursuing a career, and you would have thought it was, a tweet about like I don't know. It was just crazy. It was just crazy. To the people who didn't take it too far, thank you.
The thing is, it's in a very big way, I'm thankful that I got I don't understand why it struck such a nerve and why so many people got like mad about it and like really were just coming at me as a person. But it popped. Like, the amount of negative comments and amount of negative attention goes so far in terms of just like boosting numbers. And so I just need to be thankful. And at the end of the day, like, whether you agree or disagree, or whether you like me or you don't, or you love me or you hate me, I don't care. I love you. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to be doing my thing. I can still love you and disagree with you on many, 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 many different things. And at the end of the day, everybody is just out here trying to do the best that they can. And we should do more of that.
But yeah, I think that was really well said. And it was just a weird situation. Just a weird, crazy 2.4 million over.
We take
over
that all
tweet.
day.
We'll
that
take
is
that.
just a W. That is just a W.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna send it on down to Rostermania. We recorded this on a separate day because we wanted to at least address this on the pod. So we're wearing different clothes. We're gonna send it on down to that, and we recorded this yesterday. So there are new free agents. Do we want to mention any of them, or do we just want to save it for next week?
Cody,
Cody,
Luda,
Cody?
Complexity,
Cody and
Slayer,
Luda?
Luda.
Slayer.
That's big.
Potentially Complexity is leaving.
Oh,
This is just a rumor. I don't know. So like everybody's now like Monsoon hasn't announced yet, but like, dude, what? Like
that's
this came
huge.
out. This came out like 2 hours ago. So I don't know.
Damn.
It's getting
Okay.
crazy though. That's all
It's getting
I know.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's getting crazy. Okay, so we'll talk more about that situation next week. Let's throw it on down to the roster mania we already have. We'll hit a quick ad, and after that, free agents and roster mania. And boys, we've got a lot to talk about here, a lot to cover here. I think before we get into the actual free agents and all the people who are going to be looking for new teams, LFT, as they like to say it, we do got to talk about the biggest storyline here, and that is NRG being out of Apex, releasing their entire roster, including their content creators. It's a big blow. It's a big blow to the scene. It's a big blow to the community. And I have heard rumblings that won't be the last major one that we are going to see. There's rumblings that 100 Thieves is going to go. There is rumors that Dark Zero is going to go, and that is a big one. Dark Zero is very big. And then also FaZe might leave as well. So big implications here. If even one more of those teams leave, imagine all of them. That is just a death's row of free agents and players left out in the cold. What are we going to do here? We got to talk about this. We'll get to NRG in a second, but as far as just the organizations and leaving Apex, this could be massive in a bad way. What do you guys think?
I don't know if I'm gonna answer this particular question. I think I may leave it between you and E.
NRG leaving is definitely something you hate to see, and it's definitely a trend that is not good as a member of the Apex community. It's not something that you want to see. Like, you want to see more orgs joining in, especially like these storied tier 1 ones. And Apex has seen a significant amount of tier 1 orgs, storied, like historic, just leave. And every single time an org leaves, it's always in relation to the Respawn or EA. I believe it's primarily EA not being able to work with the organizations in order to implement a fair, at least in terms of like what the orgs are expecting in their eyes, right? It's fair for them to get some percentage of like org skins and doing all that. Because if that happens in the game, everybody wins. Orgs are going to make a ton of money. EA is going to make a ton of money. EA already makes a ton of money. And everybody's happy, and more orgs want to join, and everybody wins. You get more people playing, you get more pros signed because you have orgs who have an incentive to join because they have the ability to make money off of like these end games like skins, and it would be so big, so huge, and it just doesn't appear like it's going to be happening anytime soon. And it's unfortunate to see another org leave, but it is what it is. Do I think that this is the end of Apex esports and that we're going to see like a sharp down spin spiral? No, I think we're going to see a strong year 4. I think that as everybody's level of play continues to develop and get better, and we see different legend metas shift in and out, and just different players putting it together with their teammates at different times, it's going to be the most entertaining esport to watch from an entertainment perspective. And it just has so much going for it that I just don't think that an org, or even if more orgs were to leave, that it's going to be the end of Apex. What do you think, Wyatt?
It's tough because I do think that I remember when we first started this show, there was a good amount of orgs that left, and they were pretty important as well. And we were all kind of scared and up in arms, and everybody was like, this could be bad. And then it ended up being fine, right? But this time I feel like it's a little bit different because NRG had been there kind of since day one. They had rostered one of the most notable players in the scene, including Sweet, who is very, very big in the scene. If they're looking at that and they're saying we're still not getting enough from this to consider it viable, I think we have to take that seriously. It's something that especially if these other, even if one, like I said, if even one of them goes, that's a cause for concern. It's going to be very tough to see how we can bounce back. And I don't even know if the orgs are going to stay out of it forever, but I do think this is like we're drawing a line in the sand. Hey, we need this. You guys need to supply this or we're out, and we have no problem going out. And I think it's more of like the orgs right now are trying to take a stand and see where it goes. I don't know if it's going to work out for them because I don't even know how much EA really pays attention to the ALGS in general. I know for a fact that when we brought on Jayhawk, he was saying that they outsource all ALGS stuff to other companies to help set it up, do all that. Does that mean that they try to go hands off with it? Do they really pay attention to it? I'm sure in dollars and cents they do. Are they seeing enough growth for them to want to put more money into it with the skins like we had talked about in the past? I don't know, but it does look like if another one goes, we might have to start seriously looking at like, okay, well, how are players going to get paid? And if players can't get paid, then how are we going to get the product on the screen? Because up to this point, it's already been difficult for teams to make it because they're kind of back against the wall, free agent. Hopefully we make it. Hopefully somebody notices us. Hopefully somebody signs us so that we can financially continue to keep doing this. And yeah, it's a little scarier than the first time. It's a little scarier than the first time. Our scene is already, like I said, our scene is already tough in the challenger circuit. With more and more orgs leaving, it's just hard to imagine where we would be or where we are going to be if a few more leave. So I'm a little bit more concerned this time. I think I was concerned last time too, but we ended up getting, I think, FaZe and Optic back to back. I think they entered like right after that. This one, it's like, well, who else is going to join? Like, who else is going to come in? So that's kind of where I stand with it. It's definitely scary. I'd love to hear what you guys think, listening in the comments down below, as well as discussing in our Discord, talking a little bit about it. If you want to discuss it with the boys, the Discord is in the link down below. Boys, let's move on from that and let's get into Rostermania here a little bit. We've got a long list of free agents headlined by none other than Sweet. Never thought that we would see the day. Never thought we'd see where Sweet was looking for a team. But let's get some speculation going here. Doesn't have to be 100% correct. I just want to hear where you guys would like him to go, as well as some places that make the most sense. Let's get a little fun with it. Kick it off. Finn.
So I don't know. He did say that he pretty much confirmed that all of NRG is splitting. I know that there was some turmoil between Sweet and Guild. I think they talked, or I believe Nathan talked about how Guild was having a hard time, like, being confident in doing like his own thing whenever, specifically with like Cat, and whenever they were using Cat and Cat walls, and Sweet was having to micro his like wall usage, which in turn like Guild did not like. He also wasn't confident because he felt like Sweet was arguing specifically and like going specifically at Guild, and not Nathan nearly as much. So I think that probably happened, I believe, since Split 2, like early, like all the way through Split 2. I'm pretty sure Guild lost a lot of his confidence and like the respect with Sweet, and then I think Sweet in turn like didn't have much confidence in Guild and felt like he needed to micro him a lot more, which in turn like just a bad cycle that usually happens where it's like these things continue to keep happening and then it'll continue to keep spiraling down and down. So I don't know if Nate and Sweet are going to continue to keep playing. It's pretty much a guarantee that Guild and Sweet will not be playing together anymore. I do know that it was kind of a meme. It was kind of a joke that whenever Sweet retired, that Nate was going to do the same, and like they were like whenever one of them wasn't playing, like or they weren't going to play together or whatever, they were going to quit or whatever. But might not end up happening. They could end up all being on different teams. But I think if we're gonna see an NRG duo, it would be Nate and Sweet, and then I think Guild is probably the hottest commodity out of all the free agents right now. I don't think there's anybody that is on anybody's like that is. I mean, Guild's got to be number one on everybody's list that's trying to figure out like roster moves right now.
Over Sweet?
Over Sweet, yeah, 100%. I would say Guild is currently the most sought after player right now.
What about Guild makes his stock higher, Sweet, given the fact that Sweet is an IGL?
I just think Guild's got that X factor. I mean, I'm not saying that Sweet's not like obviously Sweet is an incredible IGL, and I'm very interested to see where they end up where he ends up choosing whenever it comes to his team and stuff like that. But I'm just thinking most people might be dropping their team, like dropping a player to get Guild on their team. Most teams that are already established, one that probably means they have an IGL already. So that means they're not going to be getting rid of Sweet wouldn't be as hot of a commodity. It's more so now Sweet's looking for those hot commodities right now. Like it's just a different way of viewing it. But I would say Guild is, if we're looking at, the free agent list, dude, Guild is like that nice Krispy Kreme donut that just got out of the Krispy Kreme, like hot signs on. They're giving away the free Krispy Kreme. Like that's Guild right now. Delicious.
Okay, so then let's have a little fun with it. Where do you want to see him go? Not where you think, not where it makes the most sense logistically, but if you could put him on a roster right now, meaning you got to trade one guy out, where do you think he would fit the best?
Dude, this has been talked about a lot, but I don't know if it would make sense. But I think the vibes would be better. Maybe I'm gonna guess and say exit and have Sykes. You're muted, but I think
You think he comes back?
I think he might go back.
I could low key see it.
Going back to Noct, aka Nocturnal, and Fun, and then Sykes gets dropped for Guild, and then they make the Liquid round 2 essentially, which would be Team Exit. But I don't know what it looks like vibe wise in the Exit camp. That's something that we're gonna have to see. But like them not doing well at champs, like how are they responding to that? I think I would love to hear. I mean, no one's made an announcement yet, but I don't know how much is going on behind the scenes right now. There's a lot, but I want to know like what's going on. But I think at the top, going back to it again, the first domino to fall is going to be where Guild goes, and then go from there.
And then it's just mayhem from there.
Yeah, before you go, don't forget that Sykes came on the show and said that there was a little bit of trouble brewing at the end of Split 2 when they were going through it. Him and Noct were not seeing eye to eye on something, so there could be a potential for that change. Now, Enoch, I would like to hear what you think, because Finn was saying that the hottest commodity would be Guild right now. Are you more on the side of like Sweet being probably the number one guy, and where do you see him fitting?
I do see Sweet. I mean, it's so close. I do respect Finn's X factor. Because like Guild really is that guy. Like he's just such an incredibly talented player, and if you can put him in the right spots and in the right situation and get him in the right headspace and have him where he's confident, which apparently we hadn't seen in a little bit, as like things have been revealed, and so I think that there's like a decent amount, like there's enough good IGLs out there that if you have a player like Guild, it can really be a difference maker in terms of you winning the entire game versus you dying in 8th or 10th. It like that entire thing for the most part could be decided upon like a Guild type difference more so than the IGL making a rotate, especially as we're seeing as everybody is more adapting to this flex playstyle. I do, however, I mean, Sweet, you got to have him at just an immense amount of respect for Sweet. He's definitely, if he's not the number one sought after, like if we're giving that to Guild, I mean, he's definitely got a strong argument to be number 2. And it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. We did see a bit of a tease, or it could be real, of Timmy responding to
Sweet.
saying check DMs. And so there's been a
troll,
lot
dude.
of people,
That's so
a
troll.
lot of people who have been like speculating like, oh, and we talked about it, like Enemy did throw a little bit. And so Enemy even tweeted out as like a joke that he was getting dropped for Sweet Nathan or Guild. And so I definitely think that would 100% be troll. In my opinion, that team, especially like Dojo, I just don't think that that's the team that like Sweet would be the best fit for. Because I mean, that team is playing so well together because of how well they fit and mesh as people and as the way they view and play the game. And Design, when he came on, he stressed that. And so there's absolutely zero reason for them to be a team that had just as good as a first LAN experience to place 4th and almost win it. It just would make zero sense for them to have that much momentum and then to throw it away.
Let me throw out a team name real quick for Guild and just tell me what you think. I could see why it wouldn't work. I could also see why it would work. FaZe. Replacing Snipe Down.
So it would be then Phony, Guild, Frex.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the reason why I don't think it would work is I believe Phony has very similar tendencies to Sweet. And I think when we had him on the show, he said when he was learning how to IGL, he watched a little bit of Sweet to learn exactly how he wanted to IGL. So I think he takes after Sweet a little bit with the micro. And we've already said that Guild may not be as good on the micro. But at the same time, Phony is not Sweet. He's a different guy. We talked to him about the vibes as well, how important they are. And it would be a fresh start for Guild. What do you guys think?
I don't see him going to FaZe. I think that FaZe roster, I don't think they're going anywhere. I think they feel probably confident in what they're doing, and I think they felt like it was probably a timing thing more than anything. Like they just need a little bit more time together to then see the results. I just don't see Phony making that change. That being said, he did make a change after he qualified. That was esports arena, like ESA a long time ago. He made a change going into Pro League. So it's like, okay, like we could see it. Oh, another person to throw on the LFT that we could maybe talk about, Capra, because I'm like, that kid
is he back?
Also, he's back.
He's back, and I believe
LFT.
it's looking like he's gonna be playing with Meat.
Is he?
But do you take on that risk?
Tech's been trialing him.
So what? Tech
made a very clear post that he is believing in Capra having another chance to be able to make it. I mean, he's a very young player. We've all done things that we wish we didn't do when we were
maybe
younger.
5 or 4,
and it would
6
absolutely
times,
just be
18
incredibly
times.
hypocritical for absolutely anybody to be on some ridiculous high horse because theirs wasn't done in a very extremely like public manner, right? And so it's just Tech. I don't know. I mean, Tech said that he was going to be giving it a shot and trialing it. That doesn't mean in any way, shape, or form that like Capra's guaranteed to be playing with Meat, because if the vibes aren't there and the team chem's not there and comms aren't there, I don't think we'll see him there. But he is an incredibly talented player, and I think in the meta that we're possibly going to be seeing with Fuse and Bang potentially in meta, it'll be actually no. I'm just scrap that. Just cut it from where I was, because I was gonna say something about Double MK, but then I forgot the text on Roller.
He just changed.
Yeah.
I think realistically, if we're talking like good fits, let's just throw the hypotheticals now for like who does Sweet get, right? Not where does Guild go, but like who does Sweet get? Like one, if he does decide to stay with Nate, I think they're obviously going to look for a roller player. So what are the roller players that would fit well, kind of to try and take the place of Guild, but also has to be a personality difference because we know that that was probably the biggest issues with like with that team, right? Is how Guild was necessarily responding and like they just didn't mesh, right? So what is somebody that like who is somebody that I think would go really well into the team is somebody with a lot of really active comms. And my first thought is instantly to Luxford, um, who did play for Complexity for a little bit. He's kind of been in and out of challengers and stuff like that, but he's known for he played with Meat text team, like with Naughty. Like he has a very active communication style, and I could see that working pretty well with Sweet, to have somebody that's on that other side, because he's mentioned whenever Nate is communicating, they've done the best at LAN. Whenever Nate's communicating and is giving his input, I think Lux is that guy that Nate doesn't have to be every single day. You know, like Lux is automatically more active in his communication. It would give somebody for Sweet to bounce communication off, ideas off, and Lux would be, I don't know, I just feel like he's the complete opposite when it comes to decision. Maybe not opposite, but like more vocal. I mean, we all know Gil. Gil's kind of a quiet guy. Whenever we had him on, he's a little bit more shy. Like, but I mean, he does his thing. Like he's obviously a very strong player. But I'm saying if we're going to talk about compatibility potential, I think Luxford's up there. I think the second person people were talking about was Koiful, but I don't know. I think you run into the same issue where one, I heard Koi likes playing with Sentinels. So right now, I don't know if he could have just been bluffing, but this is what I've been hearing from behind the scenes that Koi actually likes playing with Sentinels and thinks that there's some future for him to be able to go and play there. So, but people were making the argument that maybe Koi should be traded. You know, they should make a straight trade across. One, I don't know if Guild would want to play with RKN. I don't know if he vibes with that same style of a little bit more passive, more zone, where it's not saying that NRG doesn't do the thing, but I feel like RKN's a little bit more passive comparatively to what Sweet is. So, whenever those two were made in the conversation, I was like, okay, that's interesting. I thought maybe Sykes would maybe be a good choice, a good pickup. So they do like a straight swap between Xset and NRG for their roller players. But I don't know. I just think this can get pretty crazy very quickly.
Dude, there are so many different ways that it could all go. There are so many different combinations. Just anything could happen. We know basically nothing. And eventually, slowly but surely, between now and the start of next Pro League, we are going to be looking at just a whole bunch of teams that nobody has ever seen before. And it's exciting.
It is
This
exciting.
has got to be the most exciting offseason, I think.
Like, and it's definitely what we needed. It's definitely what we needed. You needed to have an exciting off season, and Rostermania. Welcome to it.
I think.
Okay.
Oh, go eat. No, go Wyatt. Go Wyatt. You're good. You're good.
Yeah, Wyatt, you got that.
I was gonna say, I have this weird feeling with Sweet where I don't think he's gonna be going for like any current free agent. I have a feeling he's gonna make his team based off of getting guys from other teams. You know? Like, I feel like for other people to see that potential is out there, and then he comes knocking at your door. Unless you're in such a solid place, which really, like, who would you put in, like, the most solid positions? Like, DZ
Optic,
and,
like Knocked,
and TSM?
like Knocked,
and Optic? Yeah, and Optic?
Yeah. Like, I'm just
Other
thinking
than
roller.
that,
I'm thinking roller, like, specific. Like,
yeah.
Knocked anybody, and like Verholst, like probably Effect as well. Like, I mean, Zane's on the board now with like if he's willing to move, like, but it's like how much do you want to risk, and like how much are you going to be putting? Like, there's not a whole lot of trialing that's going to be happening right now because there's not very many. There's not going to be scrims going on for a little bit because Pro League doesn't start for a while. They haven't even announced it yet, like the dates and all that stuff. So it's like we might be in for a long off season because we don't know. But sorry,
Yeah.
why I didn't mean to
No, it's fine.
jack that up. But
I just have a feeling like there's not too many people or there's not too many positions right now out there where it's set, it's locked, that's what it's going to be. And I think if he, like I said, if he comes knocking at your door, I think you at least think twice about it. And I have a feeling that he's going to be pulling guys from other rosters. We'll see how that goes. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of guys saying, at the very least, hey, Sweet asked me to trial with him. I'm going to at least try that just to see what happens. You know, I feel like there's going to be a lot of that happening. Even if they end up staying with the team, you still have to try it, right? Like, this is one of the biggest names in the game.
And that
so
is tough because like that shakes up even more teams. Like it could be an exponentially higher number depending on how many trials and tryouts people need to go through. But man, because if you're in like a team and you're like doing well and you have things going well, but then Sweet comes and knocks and like asks if we want to play, like you gotta, it'd be tough to say no to. It would really just come down to how well and how much you believe in the current team you have and how much you mesh and get along as people. Because there are definitely teams where it makes sense, right? Because I think that there are like more than a few teams that we can think of where it'd be like, oh yeah, that swap would make sense. Oh, that'd be good. You're like, it would make complete sense for him to leave. And then there are other teams where it's like, oh, nobody on that team should leave. Like they should stay together. And so we will see what happens. But yeah, that adds just like a whole other dimension on how many trials does it take and how many teams have to have those awkward conversations of, oh, I'm trialing with Sweet.
I don't think Sweet's going to try out a lot of people though. I don't feel like he's the type of guy that's just gonna like. He's not a variety guy. Like I think he just is gonna have he'll have a list of 4 people and be like, okay, these are the 4 people. And if
but
happens,
I mean, like, that's
happens.
4 people, and if they're already on teams,
right? No. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I don't think he's going to be trialing 10 guys. Is what I'm saying. Like, I don't think.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, I would consider 4 teams of like having the conversation of their player wanting to.
That definitely messes with the mental too.
That completely changes the dynamic of a team, and there's no way that anybody will be able to tell me. Like, I just won't be able to convince. I mean, somebody potentially. I mean, like, I'm not going to say that I'm completely closed-minded to the idea, but I would be shocked if you would be able to make the argument that the vibes are not exponentially different after you trial with a team and express that you don't want, that you would rather be playing with other people.
I think
even if the trial doesn't work out and you go back and you're playing with those boys, like you just had one foot out the door, and everybody saw it.
That reminds me of the situation with Aiden and Reeds, and then that brings me to the point of like they've done it before. Like Aiden's trialed with other teams before. Would you think Aiden? I think it would be more so Aiden than Reeds.
I don't think so. No, I mean, I think I don't think Oxygen I would put as a team that I don't think changes.
You don't think they change? Okay.
I mean, they had a bad tournament? Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
But I mean, like they're not. I mean,
I'm just saying.
Look at how they've been moving. Look at how they've been moving.
But Wyatt just said the whole Sweet complex. Like
I understand that, but like see, I would put Oxygen in my list of teams that I just don't think any of them it's the right choice.
That.
I could see it. I could actually see it.
I
could see
think,
NRG.
Dude,
I could see. Sorry, I could see Sweet getting Aiden.
If we're taking just like
happening.
Picks of other little teams, I want Waltzy in that list. Like I would love to have Waltzy like go like leave Apex South and come to North America and play for NRG or whatever new Sweet team is. Like
that would be crazy.
Like that's.
It's also like
I don't know.
With Sweet, you get like a guaranteed trip to champs. Like you just like that's. I think that's the biggest draw. Is like, has he ever missed a Sunday? I know that hurts to ask. I don't think he's ever missed a Sunday, ever. So it's like you're guaranteeing yourself getting into the final spot every single time. Has there been a time he's missed?
Maybe in the earlier lands when
but
when
not
he was
recently.
On Rogue.
Yeah, I mean he hasn't placed the greatest on Sundays recently, but at least you give yourself that chance. If you give yourself that chance with a newly invigorated Sweet, who knows what you're going to get? And if you're the type of player that can adapt to his style of IGL, who, like, dude, I mean, we could see this happening all over again. And we conveniently forget all the time on this podcast that they got second, I think, on the first LAN after this podcast was created, either the first or the second one. So
I
it's
think they got,
like
yeah.
that's money in the bank. And he's knocking on your door after you just got like a 17th, or you didn't make it to Sunday. Like, you got, even if you have good repertoire with the people you're with, you still got to look at that. You still got to at least try it out, you know? I don't
Yeah.
know. It's
I
definitely interesting.
I've also heard rumors of DZ splitting up. I heard like, well, I don't know. I heard either Jin Burton or Zero going back to Australia because of like family reasons or potential family reasons. This is just like a straight up rumor. There's like absolutely zero validity to what I am saying. This is only something that I saw on Twitter. So could be so off. But I've heard like they would then split off. So say it was Zero, for example, that was going to be going back to Australia, and then Jin would stay here, and then like Zainu and then would both turn into LF1s. And then that would, I mean, dude, can you imagine if Jin Burton and Zainu are both like LF1, like, or LFT, excuse me, not LF1? That would be nuts, dude. Like, imagine
But
that
what
too.
what if Zainu and Jin Burton they get with Sweet?
That's
And
what,
like
yeah,
that's
I
the
mean,
team.
yeah,
That team's pretty nasty.
has a lot of experience too. So it's like I don't really know. Like I don't know how valid that is. If that is valid, that it adds to the whole like okay, Guild's up there, but then it's like Jin Burton and Zainu are also just like in the mix. And then that gets crazy with the team comps. Then that's really whenever you're gonna see people start snaking and like being like, okay, I'm trying out with these people. Like people are gonna start getting some serious feelings hurt, and Twitter's gonna go crazy. And I can't wait. I'm just saying, like, if that actually is legitimate and DZ does decide to split, or even if they go, one of them goes LF1, like, dude, it would definitely be the most wild off season, which I'm not upset about, but it's going to be a weird landscape because I don't know what it looks like for pro league spots because now you got to keep, it's not pro league points anymore. I don't think it's got to be like two of the same roster or it gets dissolved out and then the next team that's below gets that spot. So it's like, okay, how much are these people willing to experiment in order to get like to keep their pro league spot too? So that's also a dynamic that people haven't really been mentioning is like, okay, I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to ask Tab, which is the guy that's over at EA for all of the competitive stuff, him or Shaheen. But essentially, I would have to ask like the functionality of is it all based off of points? Because then you can mismatch teams and then find your way still back into Pro League. Or does it have to be what it's been, which is for those that haven't been keeping up with Apex for a long time, in recent history, when you could get into Pro League, you had to have at least two people from the previous season in order to keep your spot in the Pro League. So a lot of teams were using like a coach and one player, or like a coach, which would technically be a sub or something, or they would just be a team of two and then find one new person, and then that got a little messy. So I don't know if they ended up changing that. I need to get that information to figure that out. But I would say that if we don't, I think that's a big factor as well as to how these teams are going to be makeshifted after the first domino starts to fall. But anyway,
Yeah, I hate to bring up the shitty Denver Broncos on this podcast again, but it reminds me a lot of when Peyton Manning was a free agent. And then after he signed, DeMarcus Ware signed, TJ Ward signed, Aqib Talib signed. All these people were like, we want to see where he's going. Once we know, we're going to follow this guy because this guy is he wins. And like, I know like Sweet hasn't gotten the big one yet, but you can't deny the fact that wherever he goes, you have an exponentially better chance to succeed. So it's a lot of people I think are going to be looking over, kind of peeking over the little fence post, being like, "Where's this guy going? Could I potentially attach myself to him so that I could also follow down that that success, that lane of success?" Yeah, but it's definitely going to be interesting. We're going to see what happens here going into Rostermania. We kind of got sidetracked on the biggest names here. So what we're going to do is we're going to send it on down to the interview, and on the other side, we're going to go through the other free agents out there because there is a long list. Talk about all of those briefly and kind of break down where we think things could change for some of these free agents, and then we will round out the show and send you guys on the rest of your week. But before we do that, let's send it on down to our interview. We'll hit a quick ad and see you guys on the other side. All right, here we are, ladies and gents, with a very special guest. Today we have on StrafingFlame from Team
Hello.
Black Hand. My man, StrafingFlame, you guys just had an incredible performance. We'll get to all
Thank you,
that
man.
here in a moment. But I just want to say, how are you? How are you feeling? And welcome to the show.
Feeling mostly good, but I got COVID going back from the land, so it's been pretty rough. And the last 2 days especially, I've just been really low energy. A lot of like brain fog is what I like to call it. I just like can't really think when I have COVID for some reason.
Oh, that sucks. That sucks. That's like the worst way
Yeah.
to. Yeah, I mean, at least the performance may have made it feel a little bit better. How long have you been dealing with it now? For just like a week?
Yeah, just since I've come back, really.
Well, either way, that sucks. Hopefully you get better soon. But
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
I think we got to start off right with champs. I think we got to go straight into it. It's crazy how we're looking back through the statistics and stuff like that, and it's just like you guys were just on an absolute tear from start to finish. You guys were just on one from the beginning. What was going on with you guys from split 2 finishing 19th over to here? You guys finished third, and honestly, you guys could have taken the whole damn thing. What do you think changed for you guys as a team? Where did you guys turn as a corner going into champs, you think?
So I think the roster change was really good for us, just because like we had a controller player in the support role, and that didn't really like work out for the team dynamic. Like with Easy Flash being probably the best fragger in the world, right? Uh, he couldn't really fit into our team the way we wanted him to, and plus that change, plus just like me overall improving as an IGL and as a player really helped us. Like my individual performance this lane was like infinitely better than my individual performance last line, and I think that really helped us. Because Easy Flash, like I don't think he really improved. I think he was like the GOAT since he's touched this game. Since like day one of playing this game, he's just been the best player to have ever existed. So it's like he's always very consistent.
And so you're saying that your strength was the triple M and K, because we're at a time in Apex where it feels like every team feels like they have to have at least one, if not two. You guys are out here absolutely just putting on a dominant performance
Yeah.
as a triple M and K team. And so how much does that change the way that you guys go about playing the game?
I mean, I wouldn't really say that was like a strength, because I mean, not having a like one or two controller players to just like lock down close range fights and like consistently output an incredible amount of damage. It's you have to play smarter. You have to play like a little bit more calculated almost. But sorry, could you rephrase the question?
Um,
Just repeat it
Yeah.
to me one more time, please. Sorry.
Yeah. So what about so you guys are triple M and K in a time where Apex it's viewed as you have to have
Right.
at least 1-2 on a team. How
Yeah.
do you guys manage to perform at as like just such a dominant, high performing level, despite the fact that you guys don't have a roller?
Right. Well, I mean, I think we've kind of just cracked the code in terms of like what makes a good team good. But at the same time, having Easy Flash, like he's an absolute anomaly on MNK. He's like leagues ahead of anyone in terms of skill level. So I think he was kind of the equalizer. Plus, just like having bank smokes to be able to disable aim assist, so that like kind of as long as we pick and choose our fights right and we like play the fights correctly, we are at a massive advantage, you know. Overall, it's still like we're still at a disadvantage, but as played correctly, we are at an advantage. So it's like it's mostly that, I guess, taking advantage of that.
So Bangalore shifting into meta has been huge for the strength of MNK, you would say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so more along the lines of that, you guys are running a pretty unique comp, one that a lot of people, I think, didn't really see
Yeah.
like that would do really well. I mean, you guys are running, for those that weren't aware, you guys are running a Watson, a Catalyst, and a Bang on 3 MNK, and that's a lot of dang confidence in your fighting ability because you don't have a whole lot of utility, right? So
Yeah.
I would love to get into the breakdown of what is your thought process behind that pick. Is it like, yeah, just I would love just an overall process of how you guys go about it strategy wise with those three, that combination of legends.
Yeah, so we think Watson is kind of like irreplaceable for us, at least coming from landside, just because you don't come out with enough shields to be able to play the game. So for shield economy and like being able to get armors up, Watson's like I've been playing Watson for a while from landside, right? Since last line. I don't think we can give that up. So for a while we tried playing Horizon, Bangalore, Watson, and that was like okay, but it didn't really feel all that great. So I decided to swap off the Bangalore for a little bit to play Horizon, Catalyst, Watson, because Catalyst is like I want to say probably the most valuable character in the game in the last two lands. Well, I'd say in the last land, the last two lands, split two playoffs, Seer was the most like broken character in the game, and you can't really argue that. But I think Catalyst was a close second. And then for a while, we thought Horizon was kind of like the next one to Seer, but we kind of figured out. I believe it might have been during the LAN that we were probably better off just playing Bangalore just because we're like triple MNK and Easy Flash is like so good on Bangalore. So we ended up swapping to Bangalore, Catalyst, Watson, and that was like kind of the magic. We ended up performing significantly better when we swapped off to that comp. Uh, the overall thought process between swapping off Horizon to Bangalore was just like because of how good Easy Flash was on Bangalore, the ability to like micro rotate, and as well the ability to turn off aim assist, which is like kind of it's a bit of a cheat code, right? As triple MNK.
You mentioned something earlier when Enoch was asking about not having a controller player on your team, and you said it comes down to how we decide to pick our fights, and it's like we need to make sure we go into the right ones. Is there a criteria that you guys kind of run through in that situation? Like I'd love to hear some of the things that you guys put out there before you go into a fight. Which one is a good one? Which one you view as a bad one? Yeah, just that entire criteria of how you're picking out those fights.
So for the we're not scared to take any fights in general. I think we're, like all of us have confidence in each other and ourselves as a team and as players that we can take and win a 3v3 against anyone, no matter the circumstances. It's just for some fights in competitive, like you need to clear them insanely fast. Like if you want to get a big game, if you want to get a really good game, like you have to win some fights cleanly and really fast, and those are the fights I'm talking about, where we just like they have to be kind of sitting at the same spot, just like not holding a lot of space, and all we have to do at that point is just like smoke and then swing. Like we smoke on them, we swing, triple fighting in bank smoke, and it's like with every other team in Atlan being like double controller, generally none of us ever really dies swinging in a smoke like that. So it's like we get to do a lot. We get to get away with a lot more things than other teams couldn't really replicate. And that
Yeah,
I
and
feel like was one of the best things about our playstyle at Winners Bracket.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like every single, like Enoch was saying, every single team has kind of shifted to sometimes even two controllers. With you guys having all three M and K, could you see, in your opinion, just if with all the other teams out there and all the other players out there, could you see players start to try and maybe go back to triple MNK, or is it just too valuable to have a controller, and the way that your team's set up is just kind of like a unicorn in a way?
Yeah, I think we're definitely outliers. I don't think teams are ever gonna like swap back to triple MNK. I mean, honestly, like we'd want one roller player if the option was there, but it's like with our team dynamic, where would the roller player slot in? You know, it's like uh, Easy Flash is the best MNK player in the world, the best fragger in the world while being on MNK, which is like absolutely insane. And then so you can't really like replace him with a controller fragger because they'd never do half as well as he does. And then player K is a support player, and support is like the one role I think MNK should really always be better than controller at. I think like there are some really high end outliers like Jen Burton, who's probably like he's in the argument of like best support players in the world, but it's like I still think it's an MNK dominated role. So that leaves only my role, the IGL, like to swap the controller, and there's really no good like controller IGL. So we're kind of just triple MNK by necessity instead of like by choice. Uh, but I think like teams, yeah, just no one really thinks about our performance as like, oh wow, it's triple MNK and they're doing good. MNK must be good. Like everyone still thinks controller is the meta, and I still think that as well. It's just I don't know. I mean, it kind of sucks, but that's just how it is.
No, I mean it is interesting. It's one of those times where not always it happens in sports too. Not always is something the typical way to do it, but if it works for you, it works for you, and I think that's really really cool. You kind of opened up this interview talking about how your individual personal performance was a lot better during this last LAN. Was there
Yeah.
anything that you were working on, like as far as maybe IGL or maybe just inner fight mechanics, anything that you had been working on a lot more from split to finals, or was it all just kind of like you just kept playing and all of a sudden the day came and you showed up?
No, absolutely not. It was something like in a long time coming, basically. Like I've been struggling with pressure pretty much my entire career. Like I'd improve like every single day. I wouldn't say every single day, like every single week, every single month. I'd get better mechanically, and none of that would ever translate to competitive because I like every time I get into a high pressure situation, be it an end zone, like a clutch, a 1v1 even, like I just start shaking. You know, like I can't control my hands as well as I should be able to. And I've mentioned this a couple of times in a few other interviews, but I couldn't feel my hands in the finals of the split two playoffs, and it was like it was a major reason why we ended up performing so bad was because I performed really bad, and that was something I overcame really well this line, and I played like at my best, you know, and that was really good for us.
What helped you overcome that? Was there somebody you talked to? Was there like a sports psychologist of types, or was there just like different exercises you looked up online? Like what exactly helped you get over the ability to lose, kind of feeling in your hands?
Almost everything, like everything you said. I looked up books on like sports psychology. I had a coach who was like really helping me keep my mental in the game. I also went and like got actual mental health coaching to help a little bit with that. And then there's also uh, I looked up like some tips online on like how kind of athletes like handle pressure. And the main thing that helped me was just like kind of undermining the importance of the tournament, you know? Like I didn't really care about the result because I knew I was like gonna be here for a long time. So like the result of one LAN isn't gonna define my result for like the next 30 LANs that I'm gonna play. And that was like a really big help. I honestly like wasn't really nervous at all during the finals. I'd say the most nervous I was when I was trying to steal the car from Alliance. And that's I don't know, but every time I do that, it's always like it's always very nerve wracking for me because I feel like, you know, if I die, then like our game's kind of thrown because my teammates have to play as a duo. They're not going to be able to grab banner, and then yeah, I'd say I was more nervous then than any point during the entire tournament.
Yeah, and that was just what I was about to ask. Was there any moment? Did you still run into other moments where you just lost feeling in the hands, or this time you were able
No,
to
never.
control it pretty well? Never, not
Yeah,
even
no.
one time.
No, not at all. I wouldn't say I was nervous at all during
Beautiful.
this
Well,
LAN.
We're
that's
just having
great.
fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. We were definitely enjoying ourselves for sure.
Did you guys
Yeah, I
feel
think
like you guys? Oh, sorry. What? Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, yeah, I think it's pretty easy when you were dominating pretty much from start to finish. I think that might
Yeah.
also help, just being on top of the leaderboard most of the most of the tournament. You guys were just
Yeah,
rolling through
absolutely.
teams. Yeah.
I was gonna mention like you guys. I wouldn't say that you guys were considered favorites going into this LAN at all.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, like I don't think anybody. One, unfortunately, I think most teams view like Triple M and K as like a dinosaur, like they're not evolved,
Yeah.
like that type of thing. So I think, unfortunately, I think the perception is always going to be. I mean, you guys have obviously now flipped that perception, but I think the only other team that most people are familiar with that were all three M and K was 100T, and they
Yeah.
didn't do well, and they haven't been performing nearly as well in the past maybe year or so. Now you guys kind of like showcase that, hey, 3M and K is still here to rock, and we're ready to roll. And the crazy thing is, and you guys had the most kills throughout the whole entire tournament, and
Yeah.
like I I want to know your feelings specifically after group stages, because you guys are second place only behind DZ. How are you guys feeling after the first day? Like what is the mental like, and like preparation going into group stages
Sorry.
or
Do you
or
mean
bracket stage, excuse me?
yeah, so you said first day. Do you mean like after all
Yeah,
the sets
sorry.
of group stages?
I meant more so after all of group stages,
Right.
and then going
Yeah.
into like the playoffs, I guess it would technically be, or the bracket
I
play.
mean, yeah. So I wouldn't really say we felt like too happy. I mean, we were happy with our performance. Not I wouldn't really say that. I guess we were happy with the result, but we weren't really happy with our performance. I think we like all of us kind of knew we underperformed in the first two sets, and like even on the third set, like we really should have gotten more points, and we weren't like too happy with it. Uh, I mean, it wasn't like we were sad because we still like ended up second, but I wouldn't say we were happy. We kind of like knew it. It wasn't really important, you know, like whether we came first, second, like whether we got 100-point lead in the group stages, it wouldn't really translate to anything. So we were kind of just focused on winners bracket and getting into finals, really.
All right, so I gotta know, how do you drop a 20 kill game from landslide with a Watson?
Sorry, we 20 kill game, 20-point game.
Oh yeah, the 20-point game. You guys
Was
had
it
one
the
like
launch
juicer
game?
game.
It was
I
a
forget which one
second with 14
specifically.
kills. We never dropped the 20 kill game.
Okay, yeah, no, the second with
Fortunately.
14. I mean, but like that's
Right.
just an absurd amount of kills for
Yeah.
a landslide team.
I mean,
Because
I would
typically
just
landslide
say,
teams are like early rotate.
yeah. We actually got held on the rotate there by NRG. They evac from staging and like landed above us as we were trying to take the harvester balloon. So it like completely cucked our rotate. But I think it like we ended up sitting siphon on the edge of like zone 3 the entire game, and then we just walked in perfectly. I would say that game was literally like perfect Apex. Besides the end where we really should have like clean wiped LG inside launch side and then just like won the game. Besides that, I would say that was like literally perfect Apex.
Dude, you guys were playing that edge like so well, dude. I don't
Yeah.
like, dude, and that's okay. I will say this, in something that you guys kind of showcased. If you can make it to end game with two controllers, there's not a whole lot of like a lot of teams can't do that much and like be aggressive on you guys, because you guys can
Yeah, no,
control
for
LOS
sure, for sure.
as well as like control just a lot of the environment around you to not allow for just free space.
Yeah.
So I love watching y'all in game specifically because it's so wild to see. Just because it's so much different, dude. It's just so much different than what we're normally seeing in Apex.
Yeah. I think it's definitely like a major reason to our success.
So one of the most, I mean, it is the most major position, IGL. And we talk about it all the time on this show, how important an IGL is. And it just seems like there aren't that many good ones out there. As
Yeah.
far as qualities that you see in good IGLs and ones you see from bad IGLs, like what separates a good IGL from a bad IGL, in your opinion?
It's really just effort. Like, I would say the best IGLs in the world are the IGLs who have like put in their time, their homework, like the ones who watch VODs for 8-12 hours a day, just like grinding it out, and trying to get better and like holding themselves to a higher standard. It's really those people who shine the most.
Is there when you're I would assume you're watching VODs. When you're watching VODs, is there like a purpose to what you're looking for in particular, or is it just kind of familiarizing yourself with everybody else around you?
So sometimes I'll watch VODs to like learn something specific, but most of the times I'm watching VODs to like, and I'm kind of like pretending I'm playing the game, So instead of only like scrimming 3 hours a day, I'm like scrimming 3 hours a day, and then I'm kind of playing the game through watching VODs for like another 3-4 hours a day, going like above when I get closer to LAN, and I'm more like focused, I guess.
We've also had this discussion about IGLs on the show where there is the macro and the micro. And we see guys like Sweet being a guy who can do the micro in the moment very quickly, can say a lot of words, get them all out there, try to get people in the exact spot that he wants them. We've
Yeah,
seen other IGLs that are more on the macro. Where do you
yeah.
find yourself on that scale?
I'd say I'm closer to a micro IGL, but I would say I'm very good with macro, like very, very good. But I would say as well I'm very good with micro. Uh, I'm not exactly like Sweet, where I'll like tell my teammates exactly what to do. I I can do that, but the problem is it's like I don't think I'm at a level where I can do that with my teammates and have it be better than just them playing the game. Because it's like, in my opinion, it's an information difference. You can't really like make the right calls when you don't have perfect information, and your teammates can't really relay information perfectly to you either. So like having teammates who understand the game on the same level as you do and kind of on your wavelength is like a huge plus, because they get to like they're able to make the right decisions on their own with the information they see, and that is like that second difference is like massive. I think trying to micro that is worse than just letting them play the game.
We talked a lot about Easy Flash and how you said that he is the best mechanical player and just the best fragger out there, even on M&K.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, how does Player K go into the role on your team? Obviously, a little bit, less in the spotlight than
Yeah.
you two, but I would love to hear what all do you think that he provides for your team? I guess.
Yeah, player just supports us like perfectly. Like he'll watch our back, he'll anchor like incredibly well. He knows what his role is in the team, so he doesn't like overstep at all. Like uh Easy Flash's fragger with me secondary fragger, and there was a game, it was our first game at winners bracket where we got 14 kills, 5th place. Easy Flash runs out of ammo in his gun, and then like Player K, knowing that he's the anchor, literally just drops his SMG to him. Like he dropped 2 digis that game, and then he dropped his SMG and like all of his ammo, and he just let like Easy Flash do his thing. And then we played the next fight after. He only had a repeater, and I mean he was still doing work with the repeater, but I think it's like that willingness to just give up his own personal performance and like let kind of his teammate take over. Like I think he's just perfect for the role. Just support player.
Okay, so going back a little bit more to the IGL topic, we've talked about how there isn't a whole lot of like very very good ones out there.
Yeah.
Where do you rank yourself? I'm curious about this. I wonder where the IGL see themselves in that field, because especially when you go to champs, like this is the
Yeah.
best of the best, and obviously you guys placed among the best of the best. Do you put yourself among the best of the best in the IGL realm as well?
Absolutely. I put myself just under Hal and Zero. Because I put in like I feel like other IGLs, most of them like get complacent at some point. They stop putting in the work that they need to. I've realized around like split one playoffs that the work that you put in defines your skill, you know? And it's always been the case for me in Apex that in terms of IGLing especially, that the amount of time I put in correlates to the amount of skill that I get. And I think I work harder than like literally anyone except for maybe Zero and Hal. So I definitely put myself right under those two.
What would a typical day look like for you of like prepping for a tourney?
So once I get closer to LAN, it would pretty much just be like any leisure time I have, I'd be on, Alban Gate game and watching VODs or like watching tournaments. And then I'm not just like mindlessly watching, I'm like picturing what I'd be doing in that game. I'm picturing how it would go when the zone closes, who has to move, where teams are at. Like I'm playing this a second game in my head of what like of everything that's going on around me, and then like I'm playing it out in my head as well, and then just like trying to get as much information to make that um, mental game in my head as perfect as it should be.
So you would say that you basically, through using VODs, you put yourself in decision-making practice reps, so
Yeah.
that compared to other IGLs, when it comes down to we're in this spot, where do I need to go and put my team now, you just are just lapping everybody in sheer amount of practice.
Yeah, no, I would say that's the case, yeah.
And that would be like the biggest thing that helped you go from just a good IGL to the exceptional quality that you're performing at as of late.
Yeah, I believe so. I think that's like the exact same thing that Zero used as well to go from, honestly, like Apex South is was a decent region back when he won back to back. It was not by any means a good enough region to produce a back to back LAN winner, right? Zero was absolutely ahead of the curve, not only in our region, but also on the world level. And that's because I'm fairly sure he's doing the same thing that I'm doing. I I've never really talked to him about it, so I don't know if it's true. But he does watch like an unbelievable amount of VODs as well. So I can only,
Mm-hmm.
kind of guess that that's what he's doing as well.
Was there a turning point moment for you where you were like, okay, if I want to be taken seriously here, I need to start putting in way more work? Like, was there like a moment where you're like, okay, I'm doing okay, but I need to
Yeah.
get to the next level? And what was that for you?
Yeah, I would say that was but one playoffs after I got dropped. I realized like I wasn't really putting in the amount of work that I needed to be, and that I needed to be doing more. And then that's kind of the goal I set for myself going into split two.
And it is so interesting too when you talk about putting in more work than everybody else, because in the Apex scene specifically, I'm sure that it's in other scenes as well, but it just seems like anytime there's a LAN, you see about 1,000 tweets saying my passion is at an all-time high. My passion
Yeah.
is at an all-time high. I
Yeah.
I I can take on the world. And it's like all of a sudden, 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks in, where's that
They're
passion at? It
gone.
seems like
Yeah.
the work is not willing to be put in. And I think what people they kind of mistake passion. They use passion and forget you still have to have the discipline for it, and you have to have the
Absolutely. And I
discipline to
think
put in all that work.
I actually think they're misusing the word passion. I think they're referring to inspiration, mistaking it for passion. I've actually tweeted about
Mm.
this. Inspiration takes you nowhere. It fades in weeks, like you say, and you'll feel in the moment like you can do anything. But then 2 weeks from now, when your brain like literally refuses to get off the bed and like do the work you need to be doing, that inspiration is nowhere to be found. Like that's not gonna take you anywhere. Like the most important thing, in my opinion, in life is to be able to show up
when you don't want to. That's when it truly counts. You know, it's anyone can show up when it's easy, right? When you're motivated. What separates the greatest from the good is like the people who are able to show up regardless of how they feel. Like even when on days where I feel like throwing up if I watch another like VOD, like I need to be able to just show up and still watch another VOD, you know? And that's I feel like what separates just the best from the good.
I don't know if there's been a better explanation out of all the interviews we've done of that exact thing. And I'm so glad you said it because
Thank
it
you.
just feels like this scene has so many people saying and regurgitating the same exact stuff. Whereas you just put it in there perfectly. It's like it's not the flashy moments. It's not you standing up there being like, oh, I want to be that guy holding the trophy. It's the moments behind the scenes where it's like you are the guy watching the VODs, like you said, where you just want to throw up, where it separates
Yeah.
you from everybody else. And I think that was just so well put. And I'm
Thank
glad you
you.
said it. I would like to talk a little bit more about the different odd parts of being at a LAN because it is a little bit different, man. You're in person. All these
Yeah.
people that you've been playing with online forever are all here. They're all there. And I'm sure there's definitely different things that go into playing on a stage rather than playing in your bedroom at home, you know, in the comfort of your own home. Do you find anything kind of quirky or different about playing at a LAN that maybe like the typical fan wouldn't think of?
Uh Sorry, could you what do you mean by that exactly?
So like just something odd like you know, it like I guess when it comes to comfort and stuff, is there anything that you find like weird or do you just
Like
when you're in the game
different,
you
yeah.
don't really feel anything different?
I can't really say because doesn't really feel different to me. As I mean, I guess it might change in the future, but going into the lands without like any sport, like no one's really cheering you on from the crowd. None of my family is like there. There's no pressure from the crowd, so I like tune it out almost completely. I don't really care what's happening with the crowd, so I'm just kind of focused on playing the game, and nothing really feels different, honestly. Besides like in the split two playoffs where I hadn't really learned to control pressure as well as I do now. I think there's really no difference. It was really just like a little bit more pressure than online, but that's about it.
So like even on championship Sunday with I'm sure the crowd's way more
Oh yeah,
full on
absolutely.
championship. Just still nothing.
Nah, not nothing.
That's
I
awesome.
mean,
That's cold.
I'm sure
That is
for
cold.
I'm sure for some other competitors, especially people with, you know, like where their families like all come to watch, the crowd might be a little bit more pressure inducing, but for me, for us coming into there with like no sport, like no one's really there to watch us, you know, there's like really no pressure from the crowd for us.
Yeah, these are just the dumb questions from somebody who's sitting watching at home on his
No,
computer.
not at all.
Do you? So this is another dumb question coming your way. Would you rather be on the top level or the bottom level, or is there no difference whatsoever? Because I always feel like the guys on the top level. I don't know why I feel this way. I feel like they have an advantage. I can't explain it. I don't know why, but I just feel like they
No.
have an advantage.
No, I wouldn't say there's any difference.
Did you
I
get to
don't
play
feel
on
that at
both
all.
levels?
Yeah, yeah, I did. There's
Was
like
there
Which
one
one
that
did
you
you prefer?
preferred?
I
Did you?
mean,
Yeah.
I didn't even notice there was a difference until like between one of the games we were throwing the hand warmers at each other, and then I was in the middle trying to catch it, right? And then I punched one off the second floor by accident, and I realized, oh wait, we're on the second floor. That was the only time I realized what floor we were on, like during the entire tournament. So I wouldn't say there's any difference at all.
Okay, okay. Like I said, just asking, just trying to figure it out. Just trying to figure it out. Um, Finn, did you want to go into the other stuff?
Yeah. So one thing that we like to do, especially for the people that are, you know, our guests that aren't really from North America, since that is usually our
Yep.
primary, you know, people that we interview. But I would love to hear about you growing up in Indonesia and how like how was gaming for you? How does your family feel about this being you just won $70,000? Like, I would love to hear how you grew up, started playing video games, got into Apex, all that jazz, and also maybe the family dynamic that you have, and how that has been on you as you've kind of taken on this Apex career.
Right. So I mean, I've been gaming from a really young age. I'd say maybe since I was like 4 or 5. My parents had like computers set up for us to play like really old school Counter Strike, like 1.6, and uh, I think there was like Counter Strike Zero as well. Then I played some like local FPS shooters like Crossfire. I was never like great. I was never even above average at any of those, honestly. Um, and then I played a bit of like CS:GO and stuff. I'd say I've been gaming like pretty much my entire life, but only got serious like starting Apex. And my parents never really like, they were okay with me gaming, but they never really supported it uh, before I got serious, just because it's like it's still a waste of time. You know, they think it's a waste of time. I know it's a waste of time because I'm not serious about it. I'm not trying to make it a career. I'm just gaming for fun, and I was like, uh, I was waking up late for school. I was missing school. It was like bad for me, especially, and my parents were really worried. But then around maybe like 3 years ago, I kind of decided like I want to do something with my life, and I chose to try and go pro in Apex because gaming was kind of like the only thing I excelled at in life going up to that point, which sounds pretty sad, but because of that, that kind of like pushed me to. My back was kind of against the wall because I didn't really like have any other options. I mean, I could like try and pursue college, but uh, I don't really think that's for me, honestly. I feel like I wouldn't ever be able to wake up for classes on time. So just being all in on gaming was like, I think what kind of separates me from some of the other people as well. Sorry, did I answer the question?
Yeah. Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Okay. I apologize because I'm usually good at keeping track, but COVID like messes with
Dude,
my
you
thinking.
nailed that,
So I'm
bro.
like,
No,
Trust.
you're
No,
good.
you
You
were
nailed that.
you're a
awesome.
big
Thank you,
Sean.
man.
So you would say that
Oh,
just
go ahead.
like going all in made a tremendous difference in the way that you approached it and the results that you've gotten as a result?
I think so. I think it's definitely not a great idea. I think like going all in is like, I don't know, if you fail, you're done, and like the majority of people are gonna fail, right? It's like statistically, it's like next to impossible for someone to like actually make it. And I mean, I don't really, I say that, but I don't really agree with it because I think it's like it just depends on the amount of work you put in. But the problem is as well, if you fail and you've already put in like 2 3 years of all of your time into this, like you've lost so much, and if you don't have like any backup plans, I don't recommend anyone else doing, is what I'm trying to say.
No, that's
It's
fair.
just kind of how things develop for me.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And as far as that development went, was there? I've talked so much about just straight up moments that change for people, but was there a moment where you realized, or maybe even your family realized, hey, he can actually do this? I know a lot of the people who we've interviewed that we are like in pro league now. As weird as it sounds, COVID actually kind of helped them get into this because they were
I
either at
absolutely,
college
I believe that.
or whatever. Yeah. Was there like a time frame or like a moment for you that helped you to be able to get to this point?
I mean, I think COVID with like everyone. I was actually supposed to continue college in like China, but because of COVID, that got canceled, and because that got canceled, that gave me like another 2 years to try and go pro, and that was kind of the huge difference, because like if I had to go to China, I would have had to quit Apex, and then I just wouldn't be here. I'd be like in college in China doing something I hate doing. So I think COVID really, really did kind of save me there. But um, what was your question again? Sorry.
Just was there like a moment where you were like, oh, okay, I can actually pursue this? Was there
Right.
a tournament win, or just like a period of time where it gave you that opportunity to step into this field?
No, I don't really think so. I came into Apex, and within like the first 50 hours, I kind of decided I wanted to go pro in it, and I've just been, I like knew from the start that I could go pro in it, and it's just a matter of like how much time I put in, how much effort I'm willing to like put out for it, you know. Uh, my parents was actually like really supportive from the start. Like my mom was a little bit hesitant at first, but she warmed up to it before I even like saw any level of success, just because she wanted to support me and something I love doing. And then my siblings actually were supporting me as well. When I first started out playing, my computer was like pretty bad, and I was getting pretty limited by performance, like by hardware, and like yeah, my performance was getting severely limited because of my hardware. And my brothers chipped in to get me a new computer, and I played on that for like pretty much my whole career up until recently. And my mom also got me like a 240 hertz monitor at the same time. So like my family just all chipped in, and they I'm where I am now because of their support.
I'm gonna throw another stupid question at you. Indonesia, very hot near the equator. Does that make it hard for your hardware to kind of like keep up with the constant heat at all times? I don't
So,
know. I just thought about that.
no, I play in an air conditioned room. I play in
I figured
it's
as
like
much,
it's
but I
always
had to
on.
throw
It's
it out
always
there. I
on.
just figured. Yeah, I
No, my
figured as
room's
much.
cold as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think your region is very interesting. We've brought it up so many times on this show. APAC South, like everybody talks about NA. I think it's pretty clear that NA is probably the best region. But
Absolutely.
APAC South, dude, like there are some teams coming out of there. You guys included
Yeah.
in that. I mean, your guys' region is very, very good. What do you think? I don't even know exactly how to phrase this question, but like what do you think makes your region good, and why, like, do you guys believe that you are probably the second best region out of all the ones in
I
Apex right
think we're
now?
definitely second best region. I think EMEA and APAC North are like pretty tied third. But if I were to point out like what makes us like the second best region, I'd almost have to say probably Zero. He's left like a lasting impact on our region. His work ethic kind of like boosted the entire region, and I don't know, the first two lands, like the Apex South's performance weren't really like amazing in the Sweden land and Rayleigh. It was really like the only breakout Apex South team was just his team, was Zero's team. And he still like kind of helps out in the region sometimes, like in the OCE community. And I think like a big reason on why we're ahead of the other regions is because of him. Because he's like an anomaly.
That's
You guys,
that's pretty wild. Like to state that Zero is the reason why your whole region is better than others because of one dude that was an IGL. I
Yeah.
think that just kind of speaks to how good he is, but also seems like
There
he
might
really,
be
I mean,
bias because I respect Zero an
right,
incredible amount.
100%. Yeah, but it does seem like Apex South, like everybody seems to be pretty close knit for the most part. I've seen like a tiny bit of rivalries, a little bit, but I mean, I know I saw. Was it with you and Waltzy? Like
You want that was
Yeah.
we gotta talk about it. That was fire.
that was pretty funny. I'm
Like
not gonna lie, you had the
Waltzy
best
is
like
the
mic.
homie,
Yeah.
but that was fire.
For those that don't know, I'm pretty sure it was like Waltzy was just saying like earnings check to StrafingFlame on Twitter, and then he kept the receipts. This was like what, a while ago? How long ago was this?
It was actually just less than a year ago. It was November of 2022. So yeah.
Did you have
less
that
than a year ago.
bookmarked screenshot?
Yeah,
of where,
I bookmarked it.
Yeah, he bookmarked that, John, and then goes to land. Now has more earnings than Waltzy, and then like sent him a screenshot of it, and it was just like such a great like drop the mic moment. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
It's definitely very funny.
But it does seem like y'all's region has like a pretty well connected, like knit group of like the top. It does seem like the top teams are like the top dogs in that region. And but
Right.
would you say that you guys like help each other? Like I know that sounds weird, but
Nah.
like do you guys help each other, or is that just like
No, not really.
okay,
Not
okay.
really. We're like, we're friends outside of the game, but we all hate each other in game. It's like once we step into that lobby, everyone else is terrible. We're the only good team in the lobby, and I feel like all the other teams, they hold that same kind of mindset. Like outside of the game, I absolutely love every single one of them. I'm a huge fan of all of them. We're all good friends, but stepping into the lobby, it's everything's different. Like I hate all of those guys.
Yeah, it's crazy too because Dark Zero left and went NA, but it's like imagine if if Dark Zero stays, that region absolutely. I mean, I think most people would agree it's probably number two, but like
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, Dark Zero stays. It contends with NA. Like, there's just so many good teams coming out of there, so many good players coming out of there, and I'm all for watching the rise of APAC South. Man, it's awesome to see.
Thank you.
Um, I wanted to talk a little bit about the future now. We've talked all about what just happened. Let's talk more about what you plan on doing in the future. You have this massive jump from split one land, split two land to now, but even split one land to now, even a bigger jump. What
Yeah.
are some things, because you guys still didn't win it, what are some things that you would like to hone in on and kind of key in and make sure you guys adjust for year four?
Uh, I think there's nothing really we want to change. We just want to do what we're doing to an even higher level, like to hold ourselves to an even higher standard, make less mistakes, play just more optimally, as close to perfect as possible, and then yeah, just that really. I feel like we've mostly cracked the code of like what makes a good team good. We just want to stick to what we know and like just perfect it to an even higher degree.
Is there anything personally that you've thought about working on? Anything that you just want to hone in on in your own personal game?
In my personal game, I want to work on just like my individual play, like my fundamentals. But uh, outside of the game, I want to work on being a more positive leader. Just like, I mean, it's so easy to kind of lose yourself in the moment and just like blame your teammates for mistakes and stuff. I mean, even if it is their fault, that kind of behavior doesn't really help you at all, right? Like all it does is kind of destroy your teammates' mentals for no reason when you're playing in the biggest tournament like you've ever played in. That's just like why, right? You should be doing your best to support them and like forgiving for the mistakes, and then just like 0-0 for the next game. Like fresh mental. I think that's something that a lot of teams kind of skip out on. Something that I was actually actively working on at this land, but I don't think I did well enough. Well, not to a level that I'm happy with, at least.
In
And
terms
that's a
of like washing the plate clean and like going next.
Yeah, and not like blaming and like uh, holding on to mistakes for no reason.
that is a dynamic I've always wondered about because we've seen other IGLs, most notably probably the most famous one, has a different style of talking with
Yeah,
teammates, and I do think that there's a place at least at some level for talking to your teammates and kind of getting on your teammates about making a certain mistake or something like that. But where's that line, at least for you? Because it feels like you go just a little bit too far, it could ruin an entire day, and you
yeah,
don't have too many
absolutely.
days to work with. Do you find yourself kind of like, maybe this is a mistake, I saw it, but I'm not going to say anything about it because I don't think it's as prevalent to what we're trying to do here? Or is it always like
So,
like for an IGL, it's got to be a balancing act, right?
I would say the only time that comes into question is when we're in a tournament, and honestly, really only at LAN, because like for every other time, I'm pointing out that mistake 10 times out of 10 and I'm grilling them for it. Because that's like, we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. Otherwise, we'd never be able to like become the best, right? But at LAN, I feel like it's such a short amount of time that you can point out the mistake, but like you don't want to chase it at all. Like at all, you want to just let it go right away. Whatever happens, if he thinks he's not in the wrong, you just have to let it go, because all that's gonna do is like create conflict, and then you're just not as kind of focused going into the next game, because you like, you know, either someone feels like they're kind of being stepped on and like not really being appreciated, or the other person feels like the other person is stupid, or I don't know. It's just not really good for the team mental.
When it comes to, is there ever a time where the team reflects it back on you, as far as like, I mean, you are making the calls. Is there times where you have to reflect on your own part, or do they say anything to you, or is it kind of just like we wait until after to see if I could have played certain spots a little bit better?
Uh, I think sometimes my teammates will like call out. I don't know. I feel like they're pretty good with it. Are you talking about like in a LAN environment, or are you talking about just like overall?
Um, you know, I was more talking overall, but I think a LAN environment's actually a better way to
Right.
go with that.
I can't really say. I don't think they generally keep to themselves. So it's like I tell them a lot that, you know, sometimes like I'm gonna be wrong when I think I'm right, and I'm gonna need them to tell me to shut the fuck up and like kind of realize that I'm wrong, right? But both my teammates are, I would say, like quite soft spoken. They're not very confrontational, so sometimes they'll just like kind of bottle it in because they don't want to argue, and then I'm kind of left there like thinking I'm right when I'm wrong, and then that's just like bad for the team. Uh, Sometimes they will bring it up, sometimes they won't. I'd say it's about a 50-50.
Perfect. Finn, did you want to do the double tap?
Yep, I'm ready for double tap. So I'm gonna set the scene real quick. So essentially, this is a segment that we do with everybody, and what I'm gonna do is give you 5 different statements, and then you try to respond with one word to answer that statement, and we'll go in
Okay.
rapid succession. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Number 1, favorite part of Apex Legends competitive.
Competing.
Number 2, Watson in competitive Apex.
Amazing.
Number 3, Apex South's biggest strength.
Mechanics.
That's good. Number 4, the most underrated skill needed to be good at Apex.
Visualization.
Ooh, what a word. Oh my gosh. All right, number 5.
Fire.
Future of StrafingFlame going forward into year 4.
Champion.
Let's go, baby.
Yes. There we go. E, you want to hit him with it?
Yeah. Well, actually, can you give, before I hit you with the main question that I always ask, can you give us a more extended breakdown of why you said visualization is your most underrated thing in Apex?
This is a bit of a trade secret. I don't really
That's
want to
fair.
dive too deep into it.
I
Ray
got you.
Crew has
I
a
think I
video.
understand where we can have an off record.
Oh,
combo,
sure.
maybe.
I'd be happy to explain it.
There we go.
Off record.
Yeah, off the record, for sure, for sure.
I'd say visualization is really important because
Fire. Well, we appreciate you sharing some of the trade secret. And so my question is, because everybody we have on is performing in the top 1% of the field that they're pursuing, and you are certainly in that category without a doubt.
Thank you.
And so what is one thing that you've learned along this journey to get to the top 1% in Apex that somebody could take and apply to their life regardless of what the field that they were trying to become in the top 1% in?
I would say it's what we talked about earlier, and that like it's easy to show up when you're motivated. You know, like you've just made your New Year's resolution. You want to go to the gym every day. It's so easy in the first 2 weeks, but when it really matters is the next like 2 months, when you feel like you don't even want to get out of your bed, when you feel like you can't, lift another. I don't know, do another like exercise. You can't go to the gym anymore. It's like that's when it's most important that you show up. Is when you hate it the most. Like when you feel like you can't do it, that's when you need to do it.
For sure. Beautiful. Well said.
Beautiful. Beautiful stuff. Well, Strafing Flame, it's been an honor to have you on the show, and it was awesome to watch you in this last LAN. Really incredible
man.
stuff. You guys were
Appreciate you
dominant
guys having me.
throughout the whole thing, and I hope to see more of you, man, because you said you're top 3 IGL right now, and I want to see. Actually, one more question. We move you to NA right now. Where do you put your team among all of the other NA teams? I think that's a good question.
I put us top 3 just because you can't really put us like, you can't really put yourself above DZ and TSM no matter what, but I put us right under them.
Perfect. I love the confidence. And we hope to see more of you guys throughout all of this in year 4, and hopefully in year 4 you gather you guys up a little bit of a trophy there. We'd love to see it.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thanks, man. Thanks for hopping on.
We're working for it. I appreciate you guys having me.
All right, ladies and gents, we are back for more Rostermania. We got a lot more free agents. Now, we already talked about the big ones. We talked about NRG, Sweet, Nathan, Guild. That's not to say that they are the biggest ones or the best ones out there. It's just that they are the biggest name. NRG, they were around for a long time. We know how big NRG was in this scene. So let's go through the rest of the list here. We've got Slayers, formerly from E6. We've got Postkill Kashira from Ascend. Actually, basically, the entire Ascend roster is done. I've only seen those tweets, though. Those were the only tweets that I saw.
Hold on. Can we talk about
people
Ascend
are
real
tweeting
quick?
me.
Hold on.
Yeah, they're saying I killed them. I did not kill Ascend. I did not.
Dude, why is the reason why?
I did not kill Ascend.
The Ascend killer.
Isn't it
I
crazy?
did not.
Wyatt, dude, Postkill and Kashira have been playing for 4 years together, and now Wyatt, of all people, is the reason why they stopped playing together now.
I didn't do it. Here's what happened, okay? They've been teammates for a long time. They needed to move on after they realized that they couldn't get a kill together on a Sunday. That's not on me, okay? Maybe my mush abilities for me to be able to pick anything that I think is going to go right that always goes wrong, me picking them to win the whole thing was bad. Maybe I just put bad juju on them from the start, but I didn't do that on purpose. I saw the team. I said, this team can win it, and they didn't even get a kill. But now I'm rooting for them. Now I'm rooting for all of them to do well in their future endeavors. Ascend is no longer my dead last team because they're no longer Ascend. So we move on from that. But Kashira said he wanted to go NA. He was looking for NA opportunities. So that's something to keep an eye on with Kashira. Another few people on this list, Sir Dell, formerly from KCP, now a free agent. Keon has been on this show before. I think he's been a free agent for a while, but he made it known once again.
He officially announced that he's splitting with Madness, which was
Well, they are splitting, so they're only splitting up if one or the other gets an offer and to join somebody else and to play on a team that they would want to do. But they do still have the Pro League spot as a duo if they wanted to. If they both didn't find offers that they thought were satisfying, they could still play together as a duo, pick up a third, and still have a strong team for Pro League and a Pro League spot. The fact that you have a Pro League spot just sitting on their hands is so good for them.
Yeah,
and
very important.
They might be able to use it. They might not. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So that is available as well. Zane is also now a free agent from KCP. Naughty, who we've mentioned, he was formerly of E8. Hardeki is out there, and Mandy as well. Mandy's been on the show. He said he wanted to get back into it. He played really well with Alliance in Champs. So all of those people are out there right now. Any names that stick out to you guys? Any names that you're looking at being like, this could be an underrated pickup, or somebody that you're looking to dominate going into year 4?
I'm going to throw in C-Line as well, just because he's technically an analyst, but a lot of people don't know this about C-Line. He has hardcore helped so many people think about the game differently. Like, for example, the ZZ, which is the coach for FaZe, he brought him, C-Lion, kind of brought him under his wing. Also, Raven, TSM Raven, and Sea Lion have been boys for so long. They've basically, what I'm trying to say is Sea Lion, besides Hodsick, has been around the game for so long as an analyst / coach that he doesn't get the recognition nearly as much because it's I mean, Hod's obviously on Xset, TSM, you get Raven, you know, but like, and whenever Furia was kind of going like ballistic, that's whenever C-Line had probably the most recognition. But C-Line has been around the game for a really long time. So I would say that is the most underrated pick for me. I would say, but it's an analyst, so it's not necessarily a player. But to answer that, Wyatt, sorry, that's my answer. But if we're talking player, dude, I really want to see where Zane ends up. Like, I think Zane has a lot of potential. I mean, we saw it with the J-Lings roster. What was that? Split 2 playoffs? No, Split 1 playoffs, excuse me. He went absolutely nuclear. That's where he kind of got his name like on the map. Went to KCP. They do pretty okay. You know, I think they get 6th or 5th during the Pro League Split 2. And then they go to LAN and like they have a kind of a rough performance. They end up making it 2 finals, I believe. But I don't think they do the performance that they were wanting to. I think Nasky is like, okay, I want to get a different taste. Like, I want to have a different team. Obviously, Sir Dell and him split. They've been playing together for forever. And now we got Zane, who was kind of their pickup to like be the more firepower. He kind of showcased a little bit of that, but maybe took a little bit step back. What is his next move? Is he willing to move to North America? Do you think he stays in EMEA and finds a team and then just dominates over there, like kind of how he's been on like a higher end EMEA team? So something to look forward to. So I'm going to say Zane is my pick of who I'm specifically going to be watching out for.
Enoch?
Yeah, out of the people that we haven't talked about too much yet, Keon is one of those people who's on the board, and we've seen what he was able to do with the guard on their squad, and obviously that situation didn't end the way that he would have liked. But that is an absolute incredibly talented player, and one that I think would be a positive addition to almost any team that he could join. Not only as a player, but just like as the overall like vibes and teammate perspective. I think Keon is definitely an absolute just criminally underrated teammate, and I think that is something that isn't looked at as much in esports as we do see in sports, where like, yes, like we have players who are fantastic at the game, and Keon is certainly one of them. He's one of the most talented shooters out there, but from like a teamwork and just like the overall vibes that they bring to the team, the way that they want everybody to succeed, the way just taking everything that he learned through his basketball journey and applying that to be like being a teammate in Apex, I think he does an absolute phenomenal job of, and any team that picks him up is going to be benefiting from him.
Yeah, and I think I mean, everybody knows I love Naughty. I want to see where he goes. I don't know. I don't know if it's got to be the right roster. And that's the tough part, because I do think I don't know with Naughty, dude. I want to see it happen so bad. I want to see him like get to that roster that really helps him out and helps him get on his feet. And I know what he's capable of doing. I know what like I've seen the Naughty that just goes absolutely insane and he's clipping shit. I want to see it. I just don't know where there's a fit right now. I'm hoping he finds it soon. I don't see the fit right now. And I'm hoping that opens up here in a little bit. But there should be plenty more free agents coming along the way. We know how this works. You get like the first wave, then there comes a second wave, and then usually a third wave. And then we even have a couple group days, then they change again, then there's another change, and it just, yeah, it's always free agent season here in Apex. So we'll have a lot more to talk about here in the coming weeks with a lot more of the Rostermania stuff. We will get that all ironed out as we start to see these teams make decisions, tough decisions, but they will be making those decisions nonetheless. We'll keep a close eye on that. Ladies and gents, we're going to throw it on down to the heart to heart and send you guys on the rest of your week. Let's get it. All right, ladies and gents, it is heart to heart time. Heart to heart time. Anybody want to go first? No. No. All right, I can go. I can get it out of the way. Heart to heart. Nothing too crazy this week. I did have a lot of those long nights where I stare up at the ceiling, being like, "What the hell am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing. Am I wasting my time? Am I wasting other people's time?" One of the nights was so bad that I ended up getting in the car, just driving around town at like 3 in the morning. I just laid on the hood of my car and just looked up at the stars, just like, what the hell am I? Where is this life going for me? I basically feel like my life's over, and I know that's naive to think, but had a couple of those days this weekend, and I say that with no answer to anything. I still don't know. I've tried to take some small steps to, you know, get better at stuff, but that's where I'm at, and I hope other people are there with me, because sometimes it's just like, damn, you feel alone in those moments. But that's where I'm at right now. Sometimes I just wake up and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And I think it does go back to Enoch's tweet of like having a backup plan. It's like, I have a backup plan, and I still find myself being like, I'm still not satisfied. So say what you want about the backup plan thing, but I have it. I'm living it. I'm working my ass off, and I still am like, what am I doing? Because if this doesn't work and I have to go to my backup plan, I'm not so sure that I'm going to be okay with that. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, and yeah, that's that. Does anybody else want to go?
Yeah, I'll go. One, I had like similar vibes. Why I definitely like after. Well, first off, yeah. So yeah, I've had a few times this week where I had a little cry in my car, and that's okay. So
Bro.
you know what? I'm open to saying that, and that's okay to cry a little bit. It's good. It's good to cry a little bit. So one of that, and then the second thing is, my best friend had a kid, and I am the godfather, which is crazy.
Nice.
I never thought I would, feel like entitled to that. Entitled to the title, especially with such great movies, like to live up to. So I don't think we're gonna be in the mob together, but I'll definitely be teaching him how to play Apex Legends. My little godchild. Is that what it's called? My godchild?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Mm.
So
Godson, goddaughter.
godson. That's it. So
Yeah.
boom. Yeah. So that's my heart to heart this week.
E. I know you kind of like the beginning of the show was like a mini heart to heart almost, but anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, life is great. Life is amazing. You don't have to attach yourself to other people's negative emotional energy at all. And the random people online do not have, they're not entitled for you to care about their opinion. And that's something that I wish everybody knew. And that's something that I've definitely locked in for myself. I just don't care. And it's very freeing, because I like just remember times would, like a few years ago, I just would not be acting or behaving this way. And I'm just incredibly thankful to be on this journey that I'm on, and all of the things I have planned for the future, and just to continue to build and build and build and just make it happen. And along that process, yes, people are going to misunderstand some of the things you say. And that's okay. It's not your problem. And yeah, I think kind of tapping into like where like the big disconnect was in regards to like people thinking that it was just you don't have the job at all if you were becoming a full-time streamer, where it's you provide and you take care of what you got to take care of, and then give absolutely everything else to building up you wanting to be a full-time streamer. And then once you get to the point where you can burn the boats, you burn those boats, but only once you're at a point where you're able to make it happen. And I guess I didn't convey that clearly enough. And that's okay, because it ended up being spicier than it probably would have been and more controversial than it probably would have been. And so it is what it is. I'll take it. I'll take all of the bonus from it. And if people have bad perceptions of me as a result of it, it's not my problem.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Well, I know it's been already a little bit of a crazy week for us here. Thank you guys for tuning in as always, and we'll probably have some more Rostermania stuff to talk about next week. Thank you guys for listening as always, and I can't wait to talk to you guys once again. We'll catch you guys next week. Shoot!